The views or opinions expressed on Ann Arbor Inclusive do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the City of Ann Arbor and the Commission on Disability Issues. For more information about the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues, please visit a2gov.org/disability resources.
Hello and welcome to Ann Arbor Inclusive. I'm your host, Tom Hoatland. What comes to mind when you see someone who has a disability? Have you ever wondered about the disability experience or what it might be like to have one? Have you ever questioned whether or not you should help someone with a disability by, say, opening a door, helping them up a steep ramp, or picking up a dropped item? What's it really like to be blind or deaf or to use a prosthetic? Well, the Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living is answering those questions to an unlikely audience and in a very unique way. I'm very happy to be interviewing Karen Meints today on our program, not only because she's a friend and colleague of mine, but also because of her expertise and experience as the Ann Arbor CIL's Disability Awareness Workshop Coordinator. Karen, welcome to Ann Arbor Inclusive.
Hi, Tom. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so tell us about these disability awareness workshops that you're doing.
Right, with the Disability Awareness Workshop, which is DAW for short, we shorten it to DAW, are a one-day workshop that teaches students about disabilities. They learn through hands-on activities how complex and difficult it is can be to have a disability, but also how innovative and resourceful people with disabilities are at overcoming those problems.
Right, right. And how long have you been how long has the CIL been running the disability awareness workshops?
They've been running them for 12 years, and they've been running them with the support and assistance of the SISS, which is Ann Arbor Public Schools Special Needs Department, and they've been a huge support to us. They originated in Rochester Hills in 1996, I believe, and they were brought to Ann Arbor in 2006, and we started with one school, Logan, and then it expanded. I think one year, 2013, we had all 20 elementary schools.
Wow.
Last year we had 17, but
that's amazing.
No, it is.
Yeah, are there other school districts in the state that do this?
Yes, we also last year for the first time ran it in Monroe's schools and ran it on all the elementary schools in Monroe.
Right.
And that was very exciting.
Yeah.
And a big success.
I just wondered if any of the other CILs are sort of doing that in their regions.
Not to my knowledge, but it would be great if they did.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So how long have you been involved?
I've been involved in the disability awareness workshops for about 12 years. I started when my son, who's now a 12th grader, was in kindergarten. I volunteered that year and thought this is really cool. And
yeah, it's come full circle for you.
Yes.
So you started out as a parent volunteer.
Yes.
And then just stayed.
And then coordinated it for my children's school, and then I volunteered running it for the school district with a colleague of mine. And then the CIL made it into a job, and I applied and got the job.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to be doing it.
Yeah, I'm sure they're happy to have you. So how many children have been through? Do you know the numbers?
Let me have a look.
How many children have been through the program?
2,300 students since 2006
Wow.
have participated in Ann Arbor Public Schools alone. And on top of that, we have parent volunteers in every school, and that's an important part of the workshop too, because they learn as well as the children. And we've had about 5,300 parents volunteer since 1996.
Really?
Which is a huge impact on our community.
That's a huge number. And you're right, I never gave that a thought, that the parents that are volunteering are just as mesmerized by this experience as the kids are. So what grade are the kids in that do this?
Typically 4th grade, and we chose 4th grade because they're young enough to be open-minded to new ideas, but they're old enough to understand the issues involved.
Right, and maybe even kids that are older than 4th grade might see this completely different.
Yeah.
As sort of.
We've run it in middle schools and high schools, but it's a different workshop for them.
I bet. Yeah.
Still successful, but different.
Right. And so how old is that, do you think, fourth grade?
9 and 10 years old.
Okay, all right. So I understand that we have video of a typical day,
Yes.
a typical workshop. So let's take a look at it, and you're going to sort of help us
Yes.
understand what we're looking at?
Yes.
All right, great.
Yeah. Okay, this is the speech table, and there's that big red button in the front is a Big Mac, and you press it and it can give one message out. That's useful in the classroom if a child says, I want to go to the toilet or something. That's the Servox, and they put it to their throat and it vibrates.
A child places a Servox,
Which
a
is useful
speech
if you don't
device,
have any
to his
speech.
throat.
Ah.
The children are feeling the vibrations on their throat, which is a strange sensation, and enjoying that.
Look at how they're
Yeah.
enjoying learning that.
Yes.
Does it make their voice change?
Yes, slightly.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not just the vibration.
This is the hearing table, and the children, that DVD player there, the children are listening to a DVD of loud and soft, different types of hearing, and learning from that.
Oh, they put headphones on.
Yes.
Got you.
Yeah. There they are with the headphones on again from a different shot.
And so volume goes up and down?
Yes,
for them?
and they learn.
So they learn different levels of hearing impairment?
Hearing impairment, yes. And the people behind are the parent volunteers.
Okay.
These are goggles, and we have coated those goggles with different surfaces to give you different ideas for how different types of vision impairments, and that's a Perkins Brailler. That young lady is learning how to type with a Perkins Brailler and Braille, and also learning about Braille and how you can read with Braille.
So she can type words and it'll come right out on the...
Yeah, there's instructions. And some
amazing.
students can. These two boys are playing tic-tac-toe, and they're learning that even if you can't see, that's why they've got blindfolds on, you can still play games if you can feel the shapes.
Right.
This is a young man with a white cane, and he's learning how to use the white cane in his eyes as he goes up and down the hallway.
Is he blindfolded?
He's blindfolded, and the person facing us is giving him instructions on how to use it and how to feel with the white cane.
Wow.
The instructor taps the wall to guide the boy to move over.
And they take this stuff really seriously.
Yes,
Yeah.
at this age they do. This young lady is learning about dyslexia, and she's actually only allowed to look in the mirror and do a dot-to-dot puzzle whilst looking in the mirror. And so she's learning how, if you had dyslexia, you would view the piece of paper. This young man here has his ear on the pillow. Underneath is a vibrating disc and an alarm clock.
Oh.
Attached to an alarm clock. He's learning how you might wake yourself up in the morning if you couldn't hear.
Okay.
Obviously you can't hear the alarms, so
So it vibrates his
it
pillow.
vibrates and wakes him up, and that's a lot of people who are deaf. It's a wheelchair obstacle course. It's probably the most popular thing in the workshop.
I volunteered to do this.
Yes, you were awesome, Tom. And they're learning how to steer and manoeuvre the wheelchair. And here we ask them to try and open a heavy door. I mean, a lot of heavy doors have handicap buttons, but not all do.
Right.
And they're just getting a sense of how frustrating that can be.
Yeah.
But the children
He's doing a decent job here.
He is, but he's just asked for help.
The instructor coming out of the door holds the door open briefly.
Yeah, that is the one thing that they all had trouble with.
Yeah. And I tell them it's not a test. It's
Right.
just an experience. And there they are, steering in and out of the cones.
And it looks like they're going over different surfaces.
Yes.
Like carpet?
Yes. Here are the prosthetics and ADL equipment. We get these from the prosthetics department at U of M, and the children try them on. And these are large button devices. The children learn that if you have shakes, your hand shakes, or you have vision problems, large buttons can help you.
Okay.
These children are building with Lego, and they're wearing gloves. Chose Lego because it's a popular toy, and they're learning that it's difficult for some children. They want to play with Lego, and they want to play, and it's hard.
Tell me why they're wearing gloves.
It helps them, it reduces their feeling and their ability to pick things up.
Okay.
These children are on mats and walkers, the legs are tied together.
Children start out sitting on the floor.
So they're
Their
learning how
legs
to
are
get about
tied
with
at the
restricted
knees.
movement and how to negotiate with using a walker.
They now use walkers and
walker
hop
there.
forward.
And in a moment, they're going to be given a plate, and this simulates what it would be like to have a walker and have to carry a lunch in the school cafeteria.
Yeah.
And I say, imagine if you're really hungry. And here we talk to them about, most of the children like to play soccer.
A boy with his legs tied loosely picks up the ball
you have
and
a friend
follows
who
the
can't
obstacle
move around
course.
as well as you can, and how could you include them in soccer or other games?
Right.
They really want to. The final part of the workshop, we give the children a checklist and a measuring tape.
A child using the wheelchair
and a
goes
clipboard,
in a door
and
to
they
see
go
if the
around
measurement
school
is
and measure
correct.
door widths and things like that to see if the school complies with the ADA law, and then they present their findings to the principal. And that's a really good learning opportunity for them.
So
learning.
That's a great video. Demonstrates exactly what kids go through. Is there anything that's not there that the kids do?
I think I cover just about every table, but not every piece of equipment.
Yeah.
We have other pieces of equipment, like we have a vibrating pen which the children hold, and then they have a cup of goldfish crackers and they try and feed themselves with a spoon the goldfish crackers while their hands are shaking.
Oh.
And it gives them an idea what it's like to have tremors or Parkinson's or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
And
Now-
how frustrating that can be to feed yourself.
Do you ever have, and I know you did with me, but are there people that experience that, adult volunteers that experience that disability at that table?
Yeah.
And so tell us about that.
We ask, when we send out the volunteer recruitment forms, we ask if a volunteer has a particular disability, it's great if they can work at that table.
Okay.
And we've had a number of volunteers who've had hearing impairments work at the hearing table.
And visual?
And vision. We also have a young lad who's worked in the autism, with autism, working at the learning disabilities table.
Right. Other
It's
experts.
great. Other experts, yeah.
And I'm sure some of these parents are have students with disabilities.
Yes. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And the afternoon part of the workshop, because these tables go on in the morning, the afternoon part we have presentations, and quite often we'll get a parent or a grandparent with a disability present to the children from their community, and that's really important.
So give a little talk?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So what else do the kids learn from the workshops?
They learn a lot of things. It's hard to know where to start.
Yeah.
They learn, one of the things we teach them is to ask somebody with a disability if they need help before giving them help.
Awesome.
Because often someone is struggling with a door, they might want to try and get through themselves and be practicing to do it themselves.
Okay.
Most people, and I'd say this at the ADA table, want to do things themselves. Mm-hmm. They don't want somebody else coming in and dressing, washing, or opening a door for them.
Yeah.
They want to try. And if you are trying and struggling to get a door open and then somebody just comes along and opens it for you, it's very frustrating.
Right. Yeah.
So they learn to ask and how to ask. And
that goes along the lines of, like me personally, when I'm out, I might be struggling up a hill or a ramp, and instead of asking me, somebody might come up behind me and push. And that kills your momentum and your method. And very rarely would I have someone help me, but it is really nice to be asked.
It is nice.
I'm sure you go over that with the kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Offering help, there's nothing wrong with offering help.
Yeah.
But taking over and pushing somebody when you haven't asked them is not on. It's
right.
I say it would be like somebody coming up behind you and picking you up and carrying you without it's
or pushing your back.
Pushing your back. It's not a pleasant feeling at all. And
right. It's unexpected.
Unexpected and unacceptable.
Yeah.
And that they learn that having a disability doesn't mean they can't learn either. It's particularly hidden disabilities. Having dyslexia or having autism or doesn't mean that you can't learn, and doesn't mean that you you're less you're not as smart as they are.
Right.
Or you think often people with autism and other disabilities go on and do amazing things.
Right. Yeah.
They also learn how to be a good friend. We have evaluation forms, and a lot of the children send back and say, I didn't realise that my friend who happens to have autism wanted friends. Now I'll try harder to be his friend.
That's cool.
And it's great.
It's very cool. So it's really about also inclusion and maybe even a bit of anti-bullying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm told that it helps reduce bullying within the schools, but I think the schools do an awful lot already to work hard on reducing bullying, and we're just one contributor.
Tell me, do you guys cover service animals in this program?
Yes, we have. Linda Evans presents, does a presentation and talks about her service animal, and that's very valuable.
And does she have her dog with her?
Yes, yeah, and the children learn the rules with service animals.
Oh, good.
Not to pet them and to ask, and that. And Linda takes the harness off the service animal at the end and says, now you can pet her.
Wow.
But they learn to take the lead from the owner and not just rush up.
Right, right. I think a lot of people don't always know why they're told no.
No.
You know, they might just think that person with the animal is being sort of mean.
Yes.
When in actuality the animal needs to be ready to work at all times and not distracted.
Yeah.
But that's great that she does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the children will now tell you they take that very seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I think we teach our kids to never just go up and pet a dog, any dog. But this takes it to another level.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Anything else?
They also learn, understanding of other students and their difficulties makes them less likely to be bullying or mean to them, and things like that.
You mentioned hidden disabilities. And I think for kids, I know that it's difficult as an adult, but I think with kids, it might be even more difficult to detect a disability with someone like you said. I didn't know my friend had this or wanted help. So is that something that you see their eyes open to?
Yes, and it depends. Some parents, some children don't want their disability announced or made known in the school, and some do. And so it's different for each child.
Yeah.
And they have good reasons for both.
For sure. Yes.
And
yeah. And then the child grows up and makes their own decision about how they want to disclose about their disability.
Yes.
So are there any other benefits for the schools and the community itself, like community at large?
The parents who volunteer at the workshop too. The idea is the children take home an etiquette sheet which has a disability etiquette on, and they learn some of the things we've discussed, like not taking over, don't pat someone's head if they ever do, don't patronise them, things like that. But they also, the parents who volunteered then go home and talk to their families and then talk to their friends and neighbours. And so there's a ripple effect out through the community and an interest. And the fourth graders love the workshop. I bring it in and set it up, and I see third graders poking their head around the door as I'm setting up saying, we're going to do this next year. I can't wait. And the fourth graders are going away saying, we're going to tell the third graders about this now. And, and the fifth graders, well, we did it last year. So it's a big part of their year. I know my three children who've gone through Ann Arbor Public Schools look forward to it and enjoyed it when they did it.
Yeah, I remember coming into a school once to volunteer, and I came in pretty fast through the door, and the kids were lined up for something, and one of the little ones said, they were very little, probably kindergarten, said, oh, look, a wheelchair man. And another kid said, cool. And I've never forgotten that because, you know, they're innocent. And they think that a disability, while it being different, is possibly cool. The wheelchair's cool, or you know, some device or someone using a dog that, and if only adults had that same reaction right away, that it's possibly cool. So is it just Ann Arbor schools then?
We have, in the last year, we did all 5 schools in Monroe, and we also did a private school this year, Hebrew Day School.
Oh, good.
Which was really good.
Yeah.
And I love to take it elsewhere.
Right.
I'd love to take it to as many schools as we can.
Yeah. And I know that the Monroe Center is under the wing of Ann Arbor.
Yes.
And how did that go?
That went very well. It was the first time there. It was hectic, but very successful, I thought.
And you had just as many parents and...
No, mostly they're the staff at Monroe and their families, because it was the first time they'd ever had it there.
Right.
Getting parent involvement was more difficult because it was unknown, and I think that was probably true in Ann Arbor too in the beginning. But this year, I think we've got a lot more parent involvement down there, and it will ripple out.
Yeah. I got to ask you, because this is something that is one of my passions as far as you know, disability awareness, and I don't necessarily work with children. So I'm going to ask, is this offered to, you already said that middle school and high school it was done differently, but what about adults? Because I think we really need to reach adults.
Do. And the Center for Independent Living has developed an adult program, I believe, and is working on it, refining it, and we will be offering adult disability awareness training, I believe it's called, in the future, and that's really exciting.
It is, right.
I'm very jealous of the people who are working on that.
Yeah. I think,
but I can't.
like you said, there were 5,000 parents that volunteered over the years, and think of that number.
Yeah.
If 5,000 people told only one other person about what they experienced and what they saw, the ripple effect is very real and has a very positive impact on our community. So do you allow anyone to volunteer? Does it have to be a parent of a student, or could I know someone like a neighbor or a friend?
I would take any volunteer who's enthusiastic, who can pass the background check.
Okay,
we have to have them, because as children, they have to have a background check.
Right.
But anybody who's enthusiastic. And I can train them on the morning of the workshop, the night before the workshop, just for their table.
All right.
I know training is important, but I think learning with the children, we have very clear instructions on every table and on the website.
On how to conduct.
On how, what it's
activity.
about, yes.
Yeah.
So,
well, I've noticed personally that there are vast differences between the kids doing the obstacle course in the wheelchair and adults, because I've done both.
Yeah.
And the adults complain far more than the kids do. And I understand that children can think it's fun being in a wheelchair. I mean, I've even had people say, "Oh, you're lucky. You get to use a wheelchair and roll around." And since they're kids, I'm not going to explain to them why it's not lucky.
No.
But it is. I feel blessed that I have a tool that will get me around, because they haven't always been around. But what have you noticed about the difference between the children and the adults now that you've seen both?
I think the children start off being very enthusiastic about the wheelchairs, but after 10 minutes of wheeling themselves around, they announce that they're very tired and that it's not so much fun as they thought it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, one boy on his evaluation said, "I thought wheelchairs would be more fun like Mario Karts, but it's not."
Right.
He expected a fun Mario Kart.
Yeah.
But the adults go in with a much more realistic expectation.
Yeah.
It's hard work wheeling. It's hard on your arms and your shoulders.
Yeah. I know that I conducted one where there was a bit of an incline for adults. There was a bit of an incline up at a door and not a lot of landing to get in the door, and there was a lot of frustration on the adult side as far as I can't do this.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, very eye-opening.
Yes.
Do you know anything about? I understand that the CIL is doing this for transit operators for adults.
I haven't been involved in that this takes up all my time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we are rolling out a program for transit operators, and I believe that's going to be part of a show in October here, when my colleague will go into that in a lot more detail than I could ever do it justice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm
So
delighted.
do you have any stories of what you've witnessed over the years that has stuck in your mind, like I have with certain kids that go through the obstacle course? Can you talk about that?
There was one little boy in Monroe, and he did the access part of the workshop with his tape measure and his checklist, and he got quite passionate about it and got back to his classroom and decided to measure everything, including bookcases and everything, and then he wrote a report on the classroom and accessibility.
Wow.
And he found that the bookcases, you couldn't reach the top of the bookcase in his wheelchair, and his favourite books were up the top, and that wasn't acceptable for him.
Good for him.
And in the end, I walked him down to the principal's office, and he presented the principal with his report on the school, and it was quite comprehensive.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was really
just one
little boy,
one guy.
and he was really got into it, and
Yeah.
it was really. And it can have that effect, and who knows what he'll do in the future.
Right, right. Maybe an architect.
Maybe.
That'll have an impact on the disability community.
Yeah, we hope so. I hope so,
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that, because that level of passion was,
right.
you know, cool.
And have you seen any kids and or adults get emotional over some of these things?
One or two who've been blindfolded have taken it immediately off and said, "I can't cope. I can't handle this. This is
Children?
Children.
Yeah.
It's too much."
I think it would be disarming.
Yeah. A lot of them have a grandparent in a wheelchair or a grandparent who needs assistance, and they want to tell me all about it. And a lot of them will say, "I know more about how I can help my grandmother," or or they'll tell me their sister has a disability, and they'll tell me,
right,
more about how they can help their sibling. Then one little boy burst into tears and said, I used to laugh at my sister who has Down syndrome, and I won't now, you know."
Good for him.
That's cool. That's great.
And at what point do they learn about developmental disabilities like that in the workshop?
They learn that in the hidden disabilities room.
Okay. Very cool.
We don't cover anything like what we could do with disability. It's a big subject. And
and only a day to do it.
We scratch the surface.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a great workshop.
It has a huge impact.
Yeah, it does.
On our community. Well, thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
Perhaps you know of kids that have been through one of the CIL's disability awareness workshops at their school. What we've seen and has been reported back to the CIL is that the kids that have been through a workshop bring home information and testimonies on what they saw, learned, and got to try out firsthand. This experience stays with them for a very long time, if not for a lifetime, and it's infectious. Like Karen mentioned, kids tell their parents and siblings and friends of their newly acquired expertise in all things disability. They learn valuable lessons, share with others, and apply them to everyday life. I'm Tom Houtland, and on behalf of the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues and all of us here at Ann Arbor Inclusive, I thank you for joining us. We'll see you right back here next time on Ann Arbor Inclusive. Thanks.